to the Creation Evaluation Station, where I give in-depth reviews of models and construction kits, both new and old. Mostly Lego, but other products as well. I also review and discuss other creative works such as movies, cartoons, and video games. And today we'll be discussing Pokemon Arceus. Now, I could sit here and talk about Pokemon for a while because I am a big fan and have been since the beginning. I originally played Red and Blue way back in the day on the Game Boy. I think I had a Game Boy Color at the time. Can't quite remember. I actually had first played Pokemon Green on an emulator on my computer, and that's where I discovered the game. And so, hacking game, or, stuff like that, ROMs and stuff like that are bad things, but I actively sought out the game when I found out about it being here in the US. Of course, it had been released in Japan before it had been in the US, and yes, the Pokemon Green I was playing was the Japanese. I couldn't read any of it. Well, I think they had started translating some of it, so I got the gist of it, at least from the beginning. But yeah, so one reason I'm a big fan of it is they basically stole my idea. When I was a younger kid, I had, I thought it'd be really cool. What if you played the monsters in a role-playing game? I'm guessing, I don't even know where I got the idea, but I'm guessing I got it, after seeing the boss sheets and the stat sheets for all the bosses and everything else. I'm like, they have stats and everything else just like the main hero character or my party's characters and stuff. Why? Wouldn't it be interesting if you could play as monster? That and, being a big fan of like Godzilla and stuff, and it's like, well, give the monsters a chance. Well, so Pokemon was right up my alley when I first discovered it, and been a big fan since. Well, could say a big fan since then, but I actually had to play the game and really get into it, and I did. I had already liked the role-playing game, so that wasn't a big problem, but as you get deeper in the game and you find out more about different abilities and different stats and everything else. Now, I've not been like on a professional circuit or anything, but I was aware of that level and even some of the things you had to do to get to that level. So I knew quite a bit of the details, and I liked the complexities of the game. Yes, complexities to Pokemon, which there is quite a bit more than it seems. And Pokemon's one of those games, it's easy to learn and harder to master. I wouldn't say it's really hard, but it is harder. And that's why it's a great game for young kids and older people as well. Now, I'm a big fan of the games. The anime, not so much. I watched some of it when I was younger, first couple seasons or whatever, but it got old quick. The game had a better story that you followed. I mean, at least the first season of the anime, first season or two, it kind of follows what happens in the game, sort of. But it's not nowhere near the same story. And later seasons and stuff, things got more convoluted and such. With that said, yeah, I've been a fan for a long time, and pretty big fan. Mostly the games, like I don't keep up with the anime. I'll hear the stuff's good or whatever, or this season's good or the season sucked or whatever, but I don't keep up strictly with that because I'm more into the game, the catching of the Pokemon and stuff like that. And Pokemon hasn't changed much. And that's partially why we're doing this video, because in Pokemon Arceus, we have some really big changes. Yeah, there's been multiple core Pokemon games, and they have always added little changes here and then, test things out. The worst part is some of the things that really did well or made people happy, they'd take away in the next generation. That's not a good idea. But, you know, I think they've slowly learned the lesson how to do stuff like that. But the core of the game has been pretty much the same. You know, you go from town to town and you beat the gym leader, you catch Pokemon, you train them, level them up, and stuff like that. And use them to fight other Pokemon, which they then capture them and such. Now, that's fine. And, I mean, that's what I sign up for every time I get a new Pokemon game. So I've never really had any big complaints with the game. Big complaints. I mean, there's always little things. But a lot more other people that are maybe not too in love with the game like I am have had bigger complaints that Pokemon hasn't changed. It's not, you know, advanced. It's just redoing the same things over and over again, which in part is kind of true. Now, they first started having a little bit of change back in, came out at the same time. X and Y is when they first started having 3D. They brought 3D to the game, which it was sorely lacking because the hardware could handle it, but they weren't doing that with their games. So we've had that moving forward, and we've had multiple games with 3D. Sword and Shield came out, and I actually think that was a step in the right direction to where they ended up going with Arceus. Now, Arceus is not a mainline game, and it's interesting. We'll get more of a story about it later. But it's not a mainline game. It, I would say, continues some of the story from other games, or in this case, Diamond and Pearl. I don't know if they're. I mean, it's actually called Pokemon Legends Arceus. I've heard rumors that they're making other Legends games too, which it actually sounds like a good idea if they do similar to what they do with this game, which explores the lore of a certain region more. But we'll talk more about that a little bit later. Yeah, so Pokemon's been kind of stale. Finally got to 3D, and Sword and Shield opened up things a little bit with an open world that you could go through. And, but it was still rather confined. And, I still appreciated it because I also play World of Warcraft. And, it's an open world game. You know, you go wherever, you explore and everything else. Which, you know, Pokemon's always had that exploration aspect to it. Always annoying when there was a bush blocking your way and you couldn't use cut yet. Oh no. But yeah, you know, exploring everywhere and trying to find Pokemon and hidden items sometimes too. That was always great. Sometimes you could tell there was a hidden item just by the pattern of the grass, or sometimes they were just really random. But excuse me. That was you know, I always had that exploration part. But what if you had open world 3D exploration? It would be vastly more, you know, realistic and more fun exploring stuff like that. Because that's what when I played World of Warcraft, it wasn't just, you know, okay, fight monsters, which I love the fighting and the monsters, but it was also exploring this world, checking every nook and cranny, finding, you know, secret areas. And I was a miner, and I would find mining nodes and stuff like that, and not necessarily secret areas, but the problem is, I mean, there were some secrets, but it's very a quest built around the quest. So the open area was always designated for doing these particular quests, so it wasn't always completely exploration, because it was like free exploration. You would come across this area just naturally doing quests, what I'm trying to say. But it was open world. You could go anywhere and do anything, and even run into monsters that could kick your butt or way too strong for you if you explored too much. Which, I still had fun doing that. But anyways, so having Pokemon go that direction was a great idea, and Sword and Shield started that, though you were still very much confined behind walls where the cities were and where the villages were, the different towns and stuff going forward. And they continued that with Arceus, except they've made it much more open. It's still slightly contained, and I'm going to talk more about this towards the end of the video, where I talk about them going forward, but I don't think they would open everything up all the way, simply because they like to make Pokemon for all ages. As I talked about earlier, it's an easy game to learn and stuff like that. So they don't want players accidentally running, just like I said with Warcraft, you could run into monsters that were way too strong for you. They don't want that happening in these games. So I have a feeling that's one reason why they have, sectioned off areas. Because the technology, I'm pretty sure, could do the whole complete open world. The areas are big enough that why not just open it up all the way? So, yeah. Arceus took that to the next level, made it open. But that is not all that Arceus did. And I'm really happy with that, with, the open world bit. But what they did more to it, I am very happy. Because, well, the core, thing of Pokemon is still there. The going around, catching Pokemon, battling Pokemon, and, exploring as well, like I said before. But in this case, they've added more depth to it, that you aren't just doing that. Now, there's one thing that, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about, and that's the just throwing Pokeballs to catch Pokemon. Now, they've added a layer to the game where the Pokedex, filling out your Pokedex isn't simply just catch the Pokemon and you're done. You have to catch multiple ones. You got to catch them multiple ways. You've got to use them a certain way, so you end up using them in your parties and stuff like that. So it doesn't oversimplify the game by just simply throwing Pokeballs at. By the way, it's not always 100% catch that you're going to catch the Pokemon. This feels like they brought this in from Pokemon Go, which I really like Pokemon Go, because it almost feels like you go out on your own adventure, your own Pokemon adventure. You go, you visit the Pokestops, travel around. Sometimes you're attacked by Team Rocket. You go catch the Pokemon. Now, you don't battle with them. Well, you don't battle the wild Pokemon. You battle them in raids and gyms and PvP and stuff like that. The wild ones, you actually just throw balls and try to catch, just like in this game. And I like it because it adds a new angle and a new depth, and it's definitely creative how they balanced it out with the making the Pokédex more complicated to fill out. But while playing, and I haven't beaten the game yet, no spoilers for the end because I can't even tell you, and I'm not gonna, anyways, don't want to. This is more about general mechanics, play, and stuff, anyways, rather than story. Except that, well, I'll get a little bit more to that when I get to the story. Is when you're going around and you're just throwing Pokeballs to catch Pokemon, you kind of lose touch with your Pokemon in your party. Like, you don't get as close to them. I know it sounds a little corny, but it's true. It's like when you're fighting with the party, and like, I'm glad they added the experience share. Like, you don't have to have the old original games. Only the Pokemon that battle got the experience. The rest of the party would not. So you'd have to switch in and out, which was good to some extent, because yes, you would get a hang of using these Pokemon, but on another extent, it made it a lot more grindy, because you would level up this Pokemon to a certain level, be happy with it, maybe it'd be strong. So you would get to the next gym and find out that the Pokemon you had was the wrong type that you leveled up. And you would have to take another Pokemon, go back through, and level them up. And to top it off, all the trainers that were there, which really help level up your Pokemon, have already been beaten. You can't fight them over again, so you had to just grind out wild Pokemon. So, they added the experience shared so you can just spread it throughout, which is fine. With this game, you get experience for practically doing everything. Like, if you throw your to collect the apricorns and berries and everything you need to help you with the game, you have to throw the Pokemon out, and it collects the stuff for you, either knocking over a tree or breaking a mining node too. There's mining nodes as well, and other things like that, and you get experience for that, and it goes just to that Pokemon, but also for catching Pokemon you get experience, and that goes across your whole team. But you're not actually battling with them, they're just there soaking up the experience from doing it. Now, like I said, that makes you feel less connected to the Pokemon. You don't understand, when you're constantly using them in battle, you understand how their moves work, and then how the damage works. And the thing is they've added a new battle system to this, so that helps. Now, this just throwing Pokeballs to catch them doesn't always work, and you still have to enter battle. And I think that's a good thing. They just might need to amp that up just a little bit, tweak it so it happens more often than not. You're going to need to fight your way out of, or weaken the Pokemon to collect them, to catch them, because that's always been like a core thing in the game, and I think they've just leaned it too far to one side. It's not saying this is breaking the game, and I still love it, and a lot of people do too, and some people like this newer system. But the battling is still necessary, and learning how your Pokemon, because there are fights in the game where you have to fight. Whether there's other trainers you can't catch for the Pokeball, you have to fight them. So it always makes it an easy way out. But if you get to a point there's stronger Pokemon, like just last night I was playing and came across a fully evolved starter Pokemon, Empoleon, which is from the original original Sinnoh Diamond and Pearl game. There were starters from there, and because it's fully evolved, it was hard to catch. I couldn't just throw Pokeballs at it. I ended up going into a fight, weakening it, and catching it, that's normal, but I think they need to do that just a little bit more to make it. I mean, maybe it's just challenge scaling too. I'm thinking of they just throwing the Pokeballs is an easy way to catch easier Pokemon. As you get more into the game, you'll deal with the harder ones to catch. But I still think they should have you doing the battles a little bit more. So yeah, fights. Yeah, the new battle system. They got this thing where it has the you can use different styles. This isn't only change, but you got different styles. So you can either do a fast attack or a super strong attack of one of your basic attacks. It switches it out, or it doesn't change the attack, just kind of changes the damage and the recharge of the attack, which you don't really charge up the attacks, but if you do like an agile quick attack, you can maybe attack twice in a row, depending on your speed and stuff like that. And then you have the power attack, which isn't quite so fast. Both abilities use more Pokemon power, PP. So there's a detriment to using it. You could run out of moves faster. Although if you're dealing with PvP, it's usually not too bad, unless you have one of those moves that only have like 5 PP. So that's an interesting thing. And also, a problem with the previous game with Sword and Shield, when they had the battles, is they instanced them. Let's see. Yeah, they're not instants. Which means, you cut away from the main world and you go to this almost like separate world, and they have a fight there. And there were some really broken things I didn't like with Sun and Shield about that. Not necessarily broken, but it was with the previous games too, even before they went in with the open world. Is they pulled you out of the world, and you weren't actually in the world. You were in something that looked like you're in the same world, like they'd have trees and stuff on the background, but it wasn't actually the background where you were just standing. The worst breaking of this is in Pokemon Sword and Shield, when you end up fighting inside a building, and the backgrounds is just a gray fog. Like it it looked horrible. I mean, it was okay for outside when they had different worlds. It looked like you were in the environment, even if it wasn't the same exact area. But the other games like Sun and Moon did this as well. Is they take you and plop you down into this room that looked like you were in the same area. While this game is not, it actually, puts a bubble around you, and the things around in the bubble is what you're dealing with and you fight with. You can even move around while your Pokemon are fighting, which I like that, so you can get a nice camera angle and watch what they're doing instead of just the over shoulder thing, which there was nothing terrible about the old just hanging out over the shoulder. Although what's interesting with this is you can get hurt by the Pokemon. You can get hurt by the Pokemon while they're fighting, including your own. They can damage you. And that's another mechanic that's with this, is the Pokemon will literally attack you which is kind of funny considering the original, all the originals, like, don't go into the grass without a Pokemon because you'll need it to defend you. Well, now we actually see what happens when you don't have one or it's not ready to defend you, is they will attack you. And on top of that, they always, stay out of the tall grass. Well, in this game, you want to stay in the tall grass because you hide inside the grass. Now, it's not saying Pokemon can't go inside the grass. They can. I've seen little ones kind of run into the grass a little bit, and you can still see where they're at because of the targeting reticle shows where they're at. But even the bigger ones will sometimes get pulled in from aggro reasons or whatever. It's not like they can't go in the grass, but you're hiding in the grass so they can't see you. Though if they go into the grass, they don't see you, but they bump into you, they'll see you then. So that the whole battle system, the other systems with the interaction with the world and everything else is really unexpected. Like, they could have simply just done the basic thing. Although getting rid of that instance fights definitely helped a lot. That really broke when you were fighting inside of a building and it just was this gray blank space. So, all right, on to the story. Now, this is definitely very original with its story. Most all of the games, you go through and you beat a gym leader, and then you move on to the next, and until you get to the final big league, and it's a big whole like sports type story, almost what you're doing. This one is different. Now, Sun and Moon was a little bit different. They didn't have gyms, but they still had like challenges and things along those lines. But this one's got a full story that you're following around. Now, yes, you are going from place to place, and it is a little bit repetitive what's being done place to place. But you have a story you're following. And what's great about this game is all the the stuff that they gave us before they released the game, before you play the game, what you know about the story or whatever, has been a bit misdirected. And I don't want to spoil too much, although you find out about it at the very beginning of the game. For one, you see the game, you're told it takes place in the Huishi, and I'm pronouncing it wrong, Hisui region, which is ancient Shino, which Shino region is where Diamond and Pearl takes place. And so, okay, so that means this is a prequel, right? You find out from the very start of the game, I mean, maybe it's not quite, people aren't quite aware of it, but it's not a prequel, it's a sequel. And why do I say it's a sequel? You've been sent back in time. And on top of that, the player characters, the player character sprites, both the girl and the guy, are the same characters from Diamond and Pearl. So they have played through their Diamond and Pearl wherever they are. I mean, you start off and you look like you're on holiday or something. When you get sucked into this world, you're being sent back in time, which is not an impossibility on multiple levels, because there are definitely different Pokemon that deal with time, including the ones that deal with Diamond and Pearl. I think I got them mixed. I think Diamond Dialga is the Pokemon of time. I've got these back. Well, one's time, one's space, plus you're dealing with Archeus, who's supposedly the creator of both of them, so we could probably, use the time magic as well. And there's other Pokemon that can do it, although they weren't really part of this region, like Celebi can control time and stuff. So you're being sent back in time. The character, the player characters are the same as from Diamond and Pearl. So it would imply that this happened after Diamond and Pearl. So you've been through all that and then get sent back in time to deal with this. And kind of blows your mind. The story does, when you think about it like that. But all the, promotional stuff is like, oh yeah, it takes place in another time in the Sinnoh region. And it's like, oh, well, then it must be a prequel, right? No, you're continuing an adventure. You've just gone back in time. And what's great about all this, though, is it expands on the lore of the Diamond and Pearl. Oh, and that's another thing. Okay. What came out before this? The re-release of Diamond and Pearl, the remake, Brilliant Diamond Lustrous Pearl, or whatever the fancy name for the remake, so the games are. So they released that so you could play through that story first. Then I released Archeus. Think about that. So that's the beginning, and Arceus comes after. So yeah, it's not a prequel; it's a sequel. You go through your adventure in Diamond Pearl, and then you end up getting sent back into ancient Sinnoh for time travel. So yeah, that also makes it interesting because it's like, oh well, there's variants, Pokemon regional variants in this game, which is what you heard before the promotional shit. Like, no, they're not. They're not regional variants. They're temporal variants. They are Pokemon out of time, I guess. But yeah, so that was exciting. Yeah, you don't go from gym leader to gym leader. The story greatly expands what little lore they had in Diamond and Pearl. You get to hear more about it, including, stuff with Arceus. I think it's obviously you're dealing with Arceus. That's the name of the game. Like I said, I haven't beaten it yet, and I don't know everything. But that's from what I have played through, that you are dealing with expanded lore and stuff from the other games, which is great. And like I said, I think there's rumor, I'm not sure that they might be doing more Legends games, which that'd be great if they take some of the older games and expand on the lore more. Yeah. And let's see. Yeah. So on that note of new games coming out, it's already been released that what is it? What is essentially the new Red and Blue game? Scarlet and Violet. Yeah. Forget the full names. Scarlet and Violet are coming out now. That's a mainline game. It's not called Legends. It's, I'm pretty sure those are going to be mainline games. Now, I think they're going to start adding a lot of the Arceus is doing well. No doubt about it. These changes that they've made have been great. So I think they're going to be adding a lot of these new systems into this game, or already have, considering it's coming out the end of this year, which is surprising a little bit. It's like too soon, although this game's not super long, but there is plenty to explore, which can take longer. I know my wife's been playing it, and she's pretty much at the end of the game. She hasn't beaten it. Horizon came out, and she's more into that than Pokemon, although she did enjoy this game. But she didn't do it. She hasn't done as much as anywhere near the exploration and catching of Pokemon that I have. Which, that's one good thing about this game is you can, explore, or you can just stick to the story, or, you just find the perfect Pokemon for your PvP team. Work on filling out your team just the right balance, the way you want it. There's different ways to play the game, and you can play more than one way too. You might take your time this week finishing up the story, or you may, next week do something else. Finish some Pokedex entries or something like that. So that's really great. But going forward, I don't think they're going to have everything. Like, I'm not sure about this battle system, or at least all parts of the battle system. Are they going to have with the game? I don't know if they'll do. I'm sure they'll keep the instanced things, and they've said it's going to be more open world even than this, I think. Like, literally you can go from the outdoors into a town without having barriers and stuff. Like this one, there's not a lot of cities and towns, although at least the one village I went to, you run right into the village. I was kind of surprised because I wasn't really paying attention. It's like, oh, where am I? I'm in the village. But the main village where you're hanging out, where you put your hat at the end of the night or whatever, is like a separate area. So, you don't just walk in the front gate or walk out the front gate. There's a load screen in between. That's where we go. So that's one thing they probably will carry forward, or carry forward or change going forward, I should say, is the opening of the world even more so. And they'll probably keep the uninstanced battles, because they look much nicer and work much more fluid and everything else. I don't know about the Pokemon catching system, if they're going to keep that implemented. I partially hope they don't, or like I said, they balance it, make it harder to catch the Pokemon that way. I'd rather fight the old way. And that's another thing. Leveling up your Pokemon your team is much better if you actually fight more. So that's one thing to consider when you're playing. It's almost like they're at ends on what their goals are with that, because you catch Pokemon, then you're not leveling up your Pokemon with as much experience. But you also need to catch the Pokemon that way, because you need to catch them off guard without them seeing you and stuff. So that's outside of battle, to fill out the Pokedex and stuff. So you need to do both. I just feel like it needs to be forced to do the battling a little bit more. Like, I think ideally if they, like, you throw the ball, if it doesn't catch the first time, then maybe you have to battle then. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You automatically enter battle. Yeah, you automatically enter battle if it doesn't catch them. I think that would be a better solution than the way they have it now, just to keep things more interactive. But there's a lot of good stuff here that I think they're going to add. that people are liking. I mean, the story probably is going to be a go around, fight the gym leaders, or something similar to that. The challenges, which is fine. That's fine. That's basic Pokemon, and what they've added to this game can work fine for that as well. So it's not like it's going to change or make things worse. I mean, I like that this has a different story than simply trying to be the best and going through the championships and everything else. And that's the thing. Usually, a lot of Pokemon games have more story than just the challenges too. I mean, the original didn't, and Gold and Silver I don't think did either. That was more like that. You had like smaller stories going on in the different villages, which is fine. And even in Red and Blue, you had that. But the story will probably be similar, or at least the basic story, as you go around and do that. It's like that's basically what you did with Sword and Shield, the last core game, except you also had another story going alongside with that as well, and some mysteries and stuff going on. So they'll probably be more like that with the stories, which is fine. I just, I hope they take the best of this and continue it on, and maybe refine it a little bit, like I said, with the just throwing Pokeballs to catch Pokemon, that you might need a little bit more challenge and stuff like that. So those are my thoughts on it. And yes, it's a great game, and it shows that you can take something old and make something new with it, using some new creative designs. Although I think some of this they might have done just simply from feedback from the fans. Not all of it though. Like I don't think anybody was expecting the battle system, how it plays out, and how that goes on. There's another thing I didn't mention is the moves. You don't forget moves. You always have, if you learn a move, you always have the move assigned to that Pokemon, but you can only take 4 moves into battle, so you can switch out. It looks like they always have it in their brain, but they can only take 4 of those moves into battle with them. So you don't have to worry about forgetting something you might need later on. Like I have my Luxray, and he's got Fire Fang, Lightning Fang, Crunch, and Thunder Wave. Don't need Thunder Wave to crush your opponent. Nope, not really. Thunder Wave I keep to help me capture Pokemon. So, based on if you're trying to do that or you're trying to do a battle, like if you got a battle coming up, you know that you're going to be fighting some clan leader or something like that. You switch out the moves to like a Thunder Blast. I don't remember his other moves. Like, can't remember them. I just have these moves, which I find helpful. But you can switch them out if you're changing what you got to go do, which that's great. Not losing moves and stuff is really nice. And then you don't, if you like, there's a couple of times where I accidentally removed, and I think other people have done this too, forgotten the wrong move and one move they wanted to keep on their Pokemon. But yeah, so that battle system is definitely a big surprise in the way they change it up, and it's not terrible. It's not game breaking. It's definitely not. It's game changing a little bit, but not overly so. And that's one thing you do have to be careful about with trying to make a Pokemon game. Now there's different Pokemon games, like there was the Mystery Dungeon series or whatever, which that's a totally different game, totally different genre of type games, sort of. But with the core Pokemon games, you don't want to change things too much from a formula that really does work. I mean, the things that make the old Pokemon games good still applies today, but they do need to do some stuff to make it better, and with Pokemon Arceus, they really did. They've started with some of the other games before Arceus, but they really combined things and hit it off good with this one. So, and hopefully we'll continue to with the new games as well. So what do you guys think? Are you guys even Pokemon fans? What do you think about the Arceus? If you haven't played it yet, is it your first game? Because I would be interested in knowing how, if this is your first Pokemon game, what your impressions of it are. Does it make you want to try out the old ones, or what? Yeah, I know I've spilled a lot out here talking about Pokemon. As I said, it's always been a fun game for me. I'm not a big fan of the anime and stuff. I liked the anime because it was always fun watching Pokemon battles. And it's kind of, I like this Arceus. Nice because you can step back and move around and watch the battle as it plays out too. It's not quite so anime-ish like, but it's a lot better than what you got with the back in the 2D days, and even some of the newer games. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, of course, and tell me what your ideas and experiences are with this game genre. I'm not gonna like talk about Pokemon all the time. That's not what this channel's for. Even with a new game, unless there's something really good with the new game that there is to discuss. I think that the changes they've made with this were very creative, and like I said, shows that you can make something old new again and breathe new life into it. Some of it should have probably been done sooner, but like I said, I like the main parts of the formula of Pokemon from the beginning, and some things they do have to be cautious going forward that they don't change the game too much. They want it to stay the same. I think this Arceus was a bit of an experiment. That's why it's not a main name title brand, not something and something. It's not two-part. I thought maybe it was, and that they were going to go away from the two-part game system, but nope, we have a new one coming out at the end of the year. But yeah, let me know what you think, and of course, if you enjoyed this, please like it. And if you haven't yet subscribed, if you're new to the channel, especially if you're a Pokemon fan, probably finding this channel, you might not enjoy the whole channel, but check it out, see what you like, and if you do like the content here, please subscribe. As I said in my intro, I give a pretty good idea what I talk about here on this channel from that, and subscribe, share with others too, of course, and comment and like. Do the YouTube thing. And with that, this is Edwin signing off here at the Creation Evaluation Station, reminding you, creativity is key.